So I just want to talk for a minute about an interesting parallel that I've seen happen over the last couple weeks with the issues going on in the Catholic Church and the New Mexico compound. I turned on the Michael Knowles show today, and I mean, he's Mr. Catholic, so I thought it was pretty interesting. He spent the entire beginning of his show talking about acknowledging and discussing the disgusting sexual abuse that was discovered at the Catholic Church and all of the stuff going on with that in Pennsylvania. And I immediately thought, this is really interesting because why is it the exact opposite of the way we handle issues with Muslims and Islam? They broke up a compound in New Mexico where they were training kids to commit school shootings, and it got hardly any news coverage. Why? Because the people were Muslim. Because the people running the compound were Muslim. They found at least one severely malnourished child, I don't know, and then they ended up finding remains of another child who had been abducted from Georgia. Got off with no bail. The liberal judge gave them no bail, just let them walk. Said somehow the state wasn't able to provide enough evidence for them to hold these suspects, even though they had proof that they were trying to teach them to commit school shootings, and the children were malnourished. So I just did a quick search, New Mexico compound, to see what news stories would pop up, because I know they haven't really been covering it, but they were sort of forced to when they found the remains of the little boy, when they were destroying the compound for whatever reason. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So this whole article was basically discussing the fact that they found the remains and had identified them. Now, the only quote in this entire article was from an attorney for one of the suspects, who essentially says they're being persecuted for their religion. I understand the person, this is their attorney, and they have to take their side. I completely understand that. What a joke. What if these were NRA card-carrying adults training white kids and having in a Christian compound and training them to use guns to commit school shootings? This would have been nonstop, wall-to-wall coverage. They'd probably all be held in solitary confinement with no bail. I mean, it's a complete joke. And it's just interesting to me, why? What's the difference? How come when something happens in the Muslim community, it gets buried and nobody talks about it? Especially those people that supposedly care about the Muslim community and are so concerned about the Muslim community. Yet, when something happens in the Catholic Church, there's obviously wall-to-wall news coverage because they love smearing religion. Everyone expects that. But you even have people like Michael Knowles, who's a very, very into being a Catholic, doing an entire segment about it. He's not smearing the religion, but he's talking about it and talking about how it's unacceptable and it shouldn't happen. And I can't understand, why can't we do the same thing when stuff happens in Islam, when stuff happens with Muslims? Why can't we say this shouldn't happen? We need to do something. We need to do something to fix this. This community needs to do something to fix this. Why is that never happening? I cannot understand that. And then when I was going through and did the New Mexico compound search, I also found this hilariously titled article. So I guess they're painting the judge as a victim too, because everybody that's on their side is a victim. Yeah, you're going to get a Twitter mob when something like this happens and you allow people to walk and just be released out onto the street. And and I'm pretty sure most of this happened after they found the remains of the child, which they did not know about until after she had decided that they weren't a threat to the community and could be released, which is another perfect example of why she made such a horrible decision. And it's just funny because I have yet to see the Washington Post write an article about all of the conservatives that get death threats every single day. I mean, I just go down my timeline and look into the comment section. Look in the comment section of the president's Twitter account. You talk about Twitter mobs and death threats. It's completely ridiculous, but the main thing I wanted to bring up is Why is it so different? How come Catholics are perfectly open to say this is disgusting, this shouldn't have happened, we need to fix it, this needs to change, that needs to change, this is the situation, breaking it down, yet the news media does everything they can to cover up when something happens in the Muslim community. When a shooter's a Muslim, story doesn't stay in the news. It's in and out, in and out. Shooter's a white guy, wall-to-wall news coverage, nonstop. Even the Vegas shooter they ran with for a couple weeks, and couldn't time to Trump, couldn't time the white supremacist, white nationalists, so they just kind of let the story go. But I just don't understand it. Why can't we ask the questions? What needs to change? Why is this happening? Why is there a compound of Muslims training children to commit school shootings? Why is that happening? Why can't we address this?